Hey guys, it's Julian, and today I'm going to be making an industrial techno track in the style of Kobosil. If I pronounce that wrong, I apologize. If you want to hear the finished track that I'm about to make, you can skip to the timestamp at the top of the description right now. I'll give you a moment to do that. And yeah, so, as always, you can get the project file and samples and MIDI and presets and all that kind of stuff from this video in the description. And if you're a patron on my Patreon, check that because it's already available. And yeah, let's get started. So, the first thing that we're going to do here is we're going to go to, let's do 135 BPM for the faster people. And I'm going to get the kick here. I just have a kick sample prepared. Usually with this style, you know, you want this very like hard-hitting, almost kind of like a old school clubby type of kick to use for sort of like the foundation. So we're going to put in quarter notes here. Nice. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get an audio effect rack, and we're going to make our standard sort of techno rumble. We're going to get 2 chains here. I'm going to get a delay on one of them. We're going to turn the dry wet all the way up. Let's do 16th notes. And then I'm going to get an amp after that. And then a low pass filter after that. Alright, there we go. So we have the start of this. I'm going to put a bit of drum bass after it as well. Okay, there we go. Just taking a moment to check it out on my monitors. You know, sometimes if it sounds good on the headphones, it doesn't sound good on the monitors, and sometimes it's the opposite. So it's always good to cross-check those. But cool. With this style, you actually tend to have a bit more room to play around with kind of doing cool stuff with the rumble. So I'm gonna try filtering this a little bit less. Like we could do like that. And it's still giving us the bass. The bass is still there that we would have been getting if we had it set like this. It's just now we also have the other stuff on top of it. We can try a different distortion mode. Okay, so now we're just cleaning up the low mid range a little bit. I'm gonna give it a low end boost and a high end boost. Okay, sounding pretty good. So I was just taking a moment there to do a few things. You can see, like, I kind of played around with the drum bus a bit. Also took that EQ8, like I was saying, gave it a low end boost, a high end boost, and then a low mid range cut to get rid of the mud. I also have a low mid range cut before the drum bus. This is just kind of a thing, you know. It's like when you're using saturation so much to beef these sounds up and to just really bring them to life, it's gonna get a little bit messy here and there, and it's gonna get some muddy stuff in there. So you just kind of have to go in and be able to clean that out with the EQ. But yeah, I also had the saturator before this. This is a good technique because it's kind of like, I like to think of it as like the processing before the rumble and the processing after it. It's like before it, you're affecting how the rumble is going to sound. But then after it, it's more so to like glue together the kick with the rumble. Like this drum bus, for example, if I turn this off, you can hear a lot more space between the rumble and the kick. But then when we turn it on, it kind of turns them into one. So this is just more so for like making the kick hit a little bit harder. You can hear. Here's without it. I'll stop talking. And then with it, it's a very subtle difference, but it just makes that little tiny, that little bit of difference in the fatness. And then I also sidechained the rumble to the clean kick. So you can see we have the sidechain here, and then I've got the audio from the kick, and then I did pre-effects. So pre-effects is just the clean kick coming out of here. The reason why you don't want to do it to the post-effects chain is you can hear. It's just going to be ducked out of the way the whole time. But with the pre-effects, you're only sidechaining it to this, basically, without the rumble. Cool, but this is sounding pretty nice, you know. Like I said with the style, you have a lot more room to do interesting stuff with the bass and with the rumble, and kind of, we can maybe even open up this filter a little bit more. Yeah, like let's do it like that. So now we're getting the low end from the kick, but we're also getting like some nice kind of percussion on top. Alright, sounding pretty good. So from here, I'm gonna make some type of a synth. Let's get analog, and I'll just start with something simple and make some notes, and then we'll choose a sound from there. So I'm gonna make something, I mean obviously with this style, you know, we're not gonna make something like super melodic in a major key, but I'm probably gonna do something kind of like this. Like I'll show you just something very quick and staccato. Let's also make this 8 bars now. There we go. It's like there's a very certain type of feeling you're trying to invoke with the melodies in this style, and if you don't get that right, it can sound kind of weird, or it just won't sound as like real. But this is cool. It's very like dark, but then this note, this C sharp here, I feel like it's kind of giving it a bit of melody, because you know otherwise it's just D sharp and E, just back and forth between those two. But then when you go to this, it's like, oh, that's why that's why it's only 2 notes for that part. And it's also a good way to go back into it, because if we reset this again, you know, you can hear that. make a sound for this. Let's do something. Maybe in this range. Go. Let's cut some low end out of that as well. Nice, and I'm gonna put a bit of erosion on that. And let's also copy that sidechain over from the rumble. Yeah, sounds nice. Very, very gritty. Alright, let's try to make this a bit bigger sounding. I'm gonna put a chorus on it. And some drum buss. Cool. Just listening on the monitors for a sec, and then let's replace this auto filter with an EQ. Okay, cool. And part of why I like using the wave shaper here with saturated, you can see I've got the wave shaper on. That's what we're doing for the saturation. Is even just by turning one knob like this, you get so much movement and so much like different sound. Yeah, you just get so many more like cool and exciting things happening that you just wouldn't expect. So we can definitely play around with automating that. Maybe automate the erosion a bit. Maybe we'll play around with that in a bit. Alright, I'm going to add a bit of echo on this. Let's try putting that before the distortions. Yeah, that's nice. That's cool. I like the slower echo times, or slower delay times, I should say. It might sound a little bit wonky, but what it really does is like we're getting all of those repeats. It just gives it more space between the repeats. So then you're hearing them, and then on top of that, they're playing on top of the other notes. So you're getting like this cool kind of like cascading thing going on that you wouldn't be able to get otherwise. Alright, sounds cool. So, let's put in some more sounds here. Like, I have some drums we can use. Let's get a drum rack for these two hi-hats here. Okay, cool. And then we'll just make like a 2-bar thing with that. Yeah, sounds cool. Alright. Yeah, like with this style, I always try to make it not just like, you know, it's, you need to do something a little bit more interesting with this style, or else it's going to sound kind of just boring. That's cool. And I'm going to distort these pretty heavy. Or pretty heavily, I should say. Because as you can hear, like, you want them to really hit like that. You don't want to have like a hard hitting kick and a little synth like this, and then have the hi-hats come in weak. You need the hi-hats to be hitting really hard. So that sounds cool. Let's get some EQ on there though. Even if you're using all this saturation and stuff and making everything sound really big, you still need to keep it clean. This is where like the EQ comes in. Alright, sounds good. So from here, I've got a few more sounds in here that I'm gonna just kind of get started. You know, we're putting together the loop here. This is ultimately going to turn into a full track, but this is just meant to be the idea, so I'm kind of just sketching things out here. I have this vinyl noise. Let's put some drum bass on this. It's a good way to kind of bring it out more. Just fatten it up. This is good with this style. I want to add like some nice texture to the sound, but it just kind of has to put it in a space, especially like if the track starts like this. Like, say we have like 8 bars here at the beginning, where it's just all kick and this. Yeah, we're just kind of building the atmosphere for our track. Alright, sounds cool. So I'm gonna make a little like industrial sort of sound. Let's get operator here. And I believe we are in D sharp. Yeah. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna get some white noise, and we're gonna put this through a band pass with a high resonance. You can hear how that's kind of creating a tone like that. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna right click on this and hit play by key. This is gonna key track it, meaning it's going to play, like if you play a high note, it plays a high note. If you play a low note, it plays a low note. It's the same thing as just basically like regular, like how your keyboard is set up when you have a regular oscillator. But it's with the filter. So now we can do this. And then if you take this and put it through some distortion, you get those kind of sounds. Alright, let's put that in there. And then I'm probably going to add some effects and stuff, of course. Yeah, that's cool. With this kind of sound, I don't want to have it happening too much, you know? I like to make it still kind of rare when it comes in, but it is a good sound. It adds a lot of life to this track. Alright, sounds cool. Let's cut out the line on that, because you can hear that one's definitely got quite a bit of it. And we'll put some chorus in here. Yeah, let's see what that sounds like. Nice. And then I'll turn the chorus down a little. We also got this echo here. Let's put that actually after the distortion. Nice. Alright, and then we'll put some drum bass on here. This really helps for getting away from just like that dry synth sound. It's like a lot of times when you make percussion in a synth, it sounds cool, but it always tends to have that like very dry, kind of clean synth sound. This goes away from that. We'll turn the transients out. Yeah, there we go. Now we have our percussion. checking on how this sounds overall. So from here, I'm gonna add in like a little pad type of sound. I'm gonna use operator, and I'm gonna just make some kind of a drone. You know, you don't want it to be too melodic. You definitely don't want to start playing like a super strong chord progression or anything like that. But just having something in here that's kind of like more airy, I guess is the way I would put it, can really help. And we can also do stuff to get it away from sounding so like melodic and just clean. Like obviously that is very melodic and clean. So let's make it sound with FM here. I'm gonna detune these a bit. Yeah, like one of these types of sounds. It almost sounds like mic feedback. Let's get a sidechain on there as well from, I'll just copy the one that is on that first synth we made. Alright, there we go, we're getting somewhere. Let's put a chorus on this. I'll make it really wide. I'm going to turn on the LFO as well and try... Yeah, there we go. So what's happening here is basically we have these two oscillators moving in pitch. While oscillator A is staying in the same place. And this creates a really, really cool sound when you're working with FM, because obviously oscillator A is being modulated by these two oscillators, which are being pitched up and down. And you can hear it's a really different sound when we have them all on it versus having one off. Okay, and then I also just put it on the filter a little bit. That's a small detail, but I can definitely hear it giving it just a bit more movement. It's kind of like one of those things, it's like you weren't expecting it, but when you do it, it sounds cool, so you run with it. Let's put a reverb on here. Give it some more atmosphere and space. And let's saturate this a little as well after the reverb. Nice. Alright, and then let's get an EQ8 after that. Cut out some low end. Nice. Let's try this at actually a different pitch though. I want to try 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the fifth. Yeah, that sounds a little bit better. It's like one of those things, you know, trying to make it not sound so melodic and make it sound more like a melodic synth in a mix like this, where it's obviously trying to be very aggressive and industrial sounding. But also one thing you can probably hear is when we played this with the pad at the same time, they were playing the same note, so it was a little bit harder to discern between them. But by having this in the fifth, it actually makes it fit a little bit better into the mix than had those two work together. Alright, sounds cool. So we have a lot of stuff here. Let's just add a little bit more. I have this percussion in here. Like all those sounds. Let's try and do something with those. I also have this rim shot. And a snare and a clap. We'll use those later, but I am going to use all this percussion now. We can definitely like make the drum section and the rhythm section, I should say, a bit more interesting. Alright, that's cool. Let's turn everything down a little bit because we are clipping a little. There we go. And then I'm going to put a bit of drum bus on this drum rack here to beef these sounds up, kind of tie them together. Okay, sounding cool. So at this stage, it is time to start arranging this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy everything, and we're going to just put it here, bar 49, and I'm going to grab the kick and the noise, and we're going to just start the track with those two things. Alright, there we go. Already sounds like an industrial track. Alright, let's turn the noise down a little. And I think I'm going to try something. I'm going to have, since this intro is going to be pretty long of just kind of like the same thing, let's have the rumble kind of like automate up a little bit. Like that, where it starts like that. And then it's almost like this percussion loop coming in. Maybe we'll start it a little bit higher. Like up there. That way, even though you're hearing this kick over and over, you're hearing something new, so you want to keep listening. It's like a subtle way to make it interesting. Alright, and then we'll copy all this stuff over. And we'll get the hi-hats in this part. Nice, and then maybe we could start bringing in this sound here as well. Like, I'll just get a low pass on it, and we'll just like slowly go up there. Alright, then let's copy the stuff over into here. Nice. And then I'll have this thing. One technique I like to do when I have like a sound like this, which is just kind of like a little background percussion like that, is I'll have one point of the track where it's playing half as frequently, and then another point where the main part where it's playing like this. Like you can see here, this only happens every 4 bars, but here it happens every 2 bars. So just kind of like subtle stuff like that, because what's going to happen is the listener is going to hear that, and it's going to make a lot bigger difference than you would think. But it's like, yeah, that kind of subtle stuff is important. Like, that's just kind of how this works. All right, let's get... I also have a ride cymbal here. Let's try something with that. I had this idea to do almost like a little fill in this part. Like, what if, like, right when the kick cuts out? That's kind of cool. Let's pitch it down a little, though. And then I'll do a little... Actually, let's just use a redux. I'll do like a little automation to get it into that next part. Yeah, that sounds cool. Alright, and speaking of automation, we could definitely give this thing a bit of automation with that bass frequency like I was talking about. We could even just give it like a really slow automation too. Like if it just has something like this, where it's kind of just moving around a bit throughout the track, I think that is enough. And then we can have some parts where we do like some extra stuff, but just to give it some like movement texturally. we go. So what I like to do is just kind of automate it as I go. Like I listen to it and just start drawing in curves. And you can see, there we go. We have a nice little random sounding kind of thing. It doesn't sound too obviously, like it doesn't sound like I just put an LFO on it, or like I'm just, doing something with like a certain musical note division. It's just straight up like just constantly new things. This is what you want. And that was a bit more interesting to listen to. Alright, so the ride's gonna come in there. Alright, and then we're gonna make the breakdown here. So let's copy all this stuff over. And we'll just put it there for now. Okay. Cool, so I'm going to copy, or I already did copy this over into the break, just giving that a bit more automation. I like to get that knocked out as soon as possible. Let's get the drone now. And I'm also going to copy this thing. And we can start bringing the drone in about here. Like, what I would like to do is do something like this, where it's fading in with a low pass filter. Like that, and then it gets like up to halfway up, and then when the break comes in, it's still building. So it's a good way to keep the break interesting. A lot of times, if we just do this, just kind of blow it all right before the break, then all of a sudden the break comes and it feels kind of boring. But if you let this kind of still build into the break there, it'll stay a little bit more interesting. Let's also take this hi-hat, and we'll just do some straight 16th notes here. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so just kind of have those hi-hats in the break there. It's important because if you don't, you can kind of lose the energy. Like, just listen to the difference. So here's what happens if we go into this part without the hi-hats. It's still got the energy, of course, because we have this synth going the whole way through. But listen to how much more energy it has when we add in those little, like, 16th note hi-hats. It's really carrying it over from that last part. Maybe here it'll just like... Yeah, let's do that. And then I made this little part. Right there, it does that. Alright, sounds cool. So what we can do next is I'm going to do a little bit of a fill here. So we're going to get the snare that I have in the pack from this video. That one. And we're going to make just like a nice snare build. I'll start it here. Yeah, like that. Alright, and then let's turn down volume of it, and then what we're going to do is just do a straightforward utility automation, just automate the volume, so it's just going to be constantly getting louder and more intense. Let's make this a little bit higher there. Cool, and then I'm going to make one more thing here, which is just going to be a bit of like a white noise build. This definitely works pretty well in this style. I mean, it is meant to be more stripped back and minimal, but just doing a simple white noise thing like this will work pretty well. And I'll show you, like, we can do some stuff to make it sound more industrial and more interesting, and not just like a white noise build being dropped into one of these tracks. So we got some white noise here in operator. I've got a bandpass filter, and then I'm going to automate this to just play the whole way through, or to go up and then go down basically the whole way through. And then let's copy the sidechain onto there from these sounds. There we go, just doing a bit more automation with that main synth. And then here, we're going to bring in the ride. Okay, cool. Got a little carried away there. We still need to finish up this operator thing. So what I'm going to do to make it more industrial is I'm going to add some erosion. So you can hear, like, it is a white noise suite, but it's a lot more crispy and crunchy sounding, so it fits better in this type of track. Then we just have an auto filter here to just cut out some line. Alright, sounding pretty cool. Let's also get the drone here, and we'll just have that kind of fading up during this part. Alright, just copying the vinyl noise into the break. Alright, sounding pretty good. I'm going to listen to this on my monitors for a moment here and maybe do some quick mixing stuff. Okay, cool. There we go. Just did a few things there, kind of clean some things up, set the mix sounding the way I wanted it to be. I also put all the percussion into a group. I do this a lot in the videos. Basically, we just put it all in a group, add some drum bus, add some EQ8 to cut out the line and give it a bit of a high-end boost. And it just helps to make them kind of fit a bit better. You can hear they're sitting more on top of the mix as opposed to I felt like before everything else was sitting on top of the percussion. I also I fattened this up a bit with some drum bus, turned a few things up and down here and there. Just kind of small stuff, but cool. Sounding pretty good. So at this stage, I believe it would be time to do some mastering. So we're going to go to the last part of the track, which is probably going to be right about here. And I'm going to just go to the master here. Let's see where we're hitting. So we'll turn everything down. We want the master right there to be saying about -4 to -6. So there is good. Cool. So let's turn that one sound up a little bit. Nice. ADHD, am I right? Anyway, what we're going to do from there is we are going to go to the master and we are going to get a little bit of saturation. So I'm going to just get this. We're going to turn the gain up maybe +4 and then turn the output down a bit so it's an even volume. And so here's before this and then after it. So it's very subtle, as all good things should be, but what it's doing is just tying everything together a lot more. It's a very similar principle to what I was saying with putting the drum bus after the kick and the rumble. When you do this and you put everything through the same processing, it just makes everything sound much more together and kind of glues it together a bit more. Cool, sounds pretty good. From there, I'm going to get a compressor. We're going to turn off the makeup gain. And we're just going to turn the threshold down a bit. We'll turn the attack up so it's not messing with the transients on any of the drums or anything like that. Cool, and there we go. So you can hear here's without this. And then with it. This is a really subtle compression you can hear. It's not doing a ton to the sound. But what it's doing is just evening everything out. It's not squashing it, but it's kind of pushing it together a little bit more. You could squash it, or you could just push it together a little bit. And that's what I'm going for here. You can see it's just really on the peaks of the peaks. But you can hear if I turn this and the saturator off and then turn them on, you'll hear why it's better to stack many small things instead of just have one or two big things. Here's without them. And then with them, again, without. And with. So there you go, you can hear it's really making the overall track just sound a lot fatter and more powerful, and tying it together and getting it ready to be played in a mix or be played in a club or something like that. So then the last thing we're going to do here is I'm going to get a limiter. We're just going to use this for a gain boost. Just a clean gain boost and nothing else. Alright, there we go. So it's just making it hit 0 dB now. The only difference between doing this with a limiter and using it like a utility or something, it's doing the same thing. If I use a utility though, you can see it'll clip in the right or the left ear every now and then for 1 second. So the limiter just catches that. It's not really audible limiting, it's just that little tiny bit of catching it. And then of course, like I said, the gain boost. Alright, well, sounds pretty cool. This is a nice little track. Let's hear what the track sounds like from start to finish. Alright, well, nice one. Sounds really cool. So that's me for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe. And let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Let me know what track from scratch video you want to see me do next. Like I said at the beginning, you can get the full project file and samples and MIDI and the presets and everything you just watched me create in this video in the description. And if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there because it's already available. Thank you so much, guys, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.